All right, so this is my sourdough after the autolays and after I've added the sourdough culture and the salt to my flour and water. And it's been sitting for about a half an hour, a little bit more. And now I'm going to do the first stretch and fold. I'm going to do it with one hand so that you can see, because I want to be able to film it so that you can see. It's pretty shaggy looking. It's less shaggy than it was when I first mixed it. But this will be what I do to build up the strength in the dough before we do the full proof. So I like to get my hands in here. Again, usually I do it with two hands and I do a fold, but I'm not going to be able to do the fold, so I'm just going to do the stretch. And just stretch it over on itself. It's very sticky, but you know, no big deal. It's not so sticky that you can't, but you want to see how wet the dough actually is. It's pretty moist. Another stretch over onto itself. Turn the bowl. Sorry, it's kind of hard to do with the phone and one-handed. I'm not a professional. You have a professional camera. You could probably make this look wonderful. Turn the bowl again. Give it another pull and stretch. You see it's not stretching up as high now. Fold it over itself. And this is the first stretch and fold. I'm going to do one more. But you see, it just doesn't stretch up as high after you've gone around 4 times. I'm just going to kind of put it all together into a ball again, and then cover with the saran wrap. And that's what it looks like now. Next time we come back, you'll see it will have come back out to the sides of the bowl and flattened out a little bit. So we'll do that again in about another half hour. All right, so this is the sourdough. It's proofing stage, but it's I'm in the midst of doing stretching. So this is the second stretch and fold, and you can see it's still kind of shaggy, not looking real pretty. And I'm going to wet my fingers and then start doing my fold. Let's pull away from the sides. Wish I had a way to do this better, but I just want to show you the texture and what it feels like. With your hands a little wet, you can do. And I'm just going to pull up. See, it's still tearing apart. Can pull away from each other, away from itself, and not staying together. This process is to make it stronger. You don't have to knead sourdough. You just fold it and strengthen it. It's still very shaggy, and like I said, it pulls apart if you pull too high. Stretch it and turn the bowl. I also really like to do the coil fold, but I can't do that with one hand. And since I don't have a tripod or anything to put my phone on, I'm just going to do this for now. And we just let it rise again for about another half hour, 45 minutes. You can even go longer, an hour or so, but I don't have a lot of time to do that, so I'm doing them a little bit closer together. Anyway, still shaggy, but pulling together. All right, so this is my final, you see, so it's sourdough. This is going to be my final stretch and fold. I'm going to try to show a coil fold. And what you can see, the difference is it is a lot smoother now. It's not as shaggy looking, and then you're starting to see these bubbles rise here. So that's where we know we're getting good. See these bubbles? These are like showing that we're getting good activity and that it's starting to give a leaven. And it's all spread out around the bowl again. So what we want to do now is a coil fold, and I'm going to see if I can turn the camera around. I don't know how to do that, so we're just going to do like this. So you can see how I do a coil fold with both hands. I like to get it away from all of the edges. Even doing that, you can see this bubble popping up. And I'm going to pull from the center and let everything just kind of pull up. See, we've got a much better stretch now. Lay it back in and do it again, twice this way. You'll find that it's much smoother looking, and you can stretch it pretty far without it falling apart. That means we put a lot of strength into it. And then one coil fold like that. Just tuck everything back under, and then I cover it again with my plastic wrap. You'll see some people do it on their counters and just cover it with a bowl, but I like the bowl helping it keep its form, so I don't have to scrape anything off. And it's a lot less stick and residue getting on my hands now. So that is the coil fold, and you can still see there's bubbles all on the surface. And now this is going to sit and do a bulk rise. So you can kind of see it takes up quite a bit of the bowl. This is 2 loaves worth, but that's kind of what you're wanting it to look like. And again, you know, not very much stuck to my hands, but it is still sticky. I like my dough a little bit moister, so I don't give it as much. Some people like it a little drier, so I can add another 10 or 15 grams of flour to this, and it would be not sticking to my hands as much as it is right now. But now that I've gotten better at working with my dough and the scraper on the counter, I really kind of like it to have a little bit more moisture. So those are the 3 sets. This is going to sit till nighttime now. So it's been a couple of hours with the stretch and fold, and now it'll go about 4 hours in the bowl, just like this. And then I'll divide it and form it, let it sit on the counter for a little bit, for about 10 minutes, and then form it again and get it ready for its overnight proof in the refrigerator. I'm trying to do this with my phone, but also be able to do it when I can have both hands. So this is the dough now. You can see it's risen almost to the top of the bowl, and it's ready to do its overnight, to be formed and do its overnight ferment. So I'm going to put the phone hopefully where you can see me work it on the counter. Maybe I will pop it here. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to sort of flop it out on a counter that's doesn't have anything on it. This is a bowl scraper for dough, and I'm just going around the edge of the bowl, and I'm going to gently drop this out onto the counter as gently as you can, scraping all the sides. Got a nice empty bowl. Okay, so it's just gonna not keep its form or its shape. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna divide this, because it's enough dough for 2 bowl loaves, and I'm gonna use my tool to divide that, and then it's gonna sit on the counter and get for about 10 minutes and get a skin on it. So I'm gonna show you how I divide it and get it into 2 bowls and let it sit, and then I'll show you the bowls that I let it continue to rise in all night. So I just kind of stick my dough knife in and separate and try to get as even as I can too. And you see I just make a twisting motion and make it into sort of a semi-ball. I'll show you the next one since this one's out of frame. Just using my fingers on this one and the edge of this knife, gathering it all together up into a ball. You don't want to flatten it out like you would with some doughs, because you want to keep all those nice bubbles in there. I'm using my fingers to kind of go underneath and pull it up into the ball form that I want. And I'm using the scraper to keep it off the counter and keep twisting, trying to get a nice, firm, tight ball. Now they're going to deflate down some again, like flatten out. You can see some nice bubbles. See, it's tacky. It's still quite tacky, but it's not sticking to my hands like it did earlier. I've got pretty clean. This tool is fantastic. I would say if you're making sourdough, you want a tool like this or some other bench knife. The plastic one came in something I already had, so I use it all the time. So now I'm going to leave again, and I'm just going to leave these two set here. And when you come back, you'll see a couple of other items. The bowls that I use to rise in. Some people use the baskets, which are great, but that was an extra cost. And I didn't want to spend my money on that because I've been spending stuff on lots of other fermentation things. Anyway, hope that helps. 2 balls. That's how you just want to leave them on the counter like that. Okay, I'm going to try again. Video. Tight, tight, tight. Till it sort of stops coming back out. See, I'm taking my fingers and dragging underneath. Then once it starts, can kind of feel it grabbing on the counter. Then I feel it's good. Give it a little sprinkle on top. Just gently. I'm going to grab that up. Oh, and then up here in my bowl, I'm going to put some flour sprinkle on the kitchen towel, my linen. I'm going to take it and flip it upside down. And that's where it's going to rise in that bowl. Can you see that? I'm having a hard time. There you go. Sometimes I'll give this a little sprinkle, not much, just a little sprinkle so the cloth doesn't stick to it. And then I'm going to fold the cloth over on top of it. I'm going to set that one aside for now. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with this one. See if you can see this one better. I still have a pretty good floured, quite a bit floured counter. I'm going to grab this up using the edge of it and my fingers, work it into a ball. And I feel good. Scoop it up. I'm going to take the sides and put it in. Put it in. Basically, I'm just keeping the same round shape, but pulling all the sides into the center. I just keep going around until I feel like it's really okay. Again, using your fingers, slide up underneath it, pressing and rolling it, keeping that nice. We want this taut on top, as taut as we can get it. But not deflating the ball, because that's where all of your nice open hole crumb will come from. Once it starts to, again, you can see it kind of sticking to the counter a little bit. That's when I know I'm just about done with my rotations. All I can say is I've gotten comfortable with the feel now. Okay, again with my bowl over here, I'm gonna just sprinkle a little bit of my flour onto the linen dish towel and a little bit on top of my dough. I'm going to just reach my hands under and scoop it up and flop it in. I don't have very much flour left, but it doesn't really need very much. Then I take my cloth and I fold it so that it drapes over but doesn't lay on top of the dough. Now I'm going to cover these again with thick plastic bags that I have. It's the same bags I use over and over again. They were from some grocery store that were super thick. And I just feel like that protects it from any refrigerator smells or anything else. So I'll cover both of these, and then I'm going to leave them in the fridge. It's 7:30 now, and they'll be in the fridge until after school, after I get the kids dropped off to school tomorrow. When I leave, I'll heat the oven, and when I get back, the oven and the pans, when I get back, they'll be ready to go in the oven. Okay, so this is the final step, baking. So I've had my oven heating to 475 for the last hour with my 2 Dutch ovens that I'm going to put my bread in. So they're hot and ready to go, and I'm just going to get out of my oven or out of the fridge the other things. Can we see this way? Probably not. No idea if you can see. Anyway, let me get the things out of the oven, out of the fridge. So this bigger bowl I tend to put in my oblong. I just flip it out. It comes right off. That's what it looks like. And I drop it in. And now I'm going to make my markings on it. This one I like to do 3 slices. Of course, I didn't get it in my pan very evenly. This is called, most people use a lame. I don't have a lame, but I have a really nice, sharp outdoor knife that I use. Works okay with this process because the dough is really cold. If your dough is warm, you would want a lame, not this. So that's that one. And then I put the lid on and it'll start cooking. Now I'm going to get the other one. Don't know if you can see. Sorry about that. Again, I'm not a filmer. Again, I'm just going to flip the dough out onto my hand. Drop it in. And this one I do a little bit different shape. This one I'm going to do a square. Getting a little bit oblong today, but oh well. Weird shape. So what this does is it allows the dough to have spring. So as it rises while it's heating, it'll break open more at these places where I've put the knife cut in. And that's what makes that really pretty ear when they come out. Yes, my pots are really badly, but ugly, but I've used this constantly. Anyway, now they're going to go in the oven for 25 minutes at 475, and then I'll take the lids off and then put them back in the oven at about 460 for another 20 minutes, and I'll show you those steps. Okay, so now buzzer's gone off. We are now going to just take the lids off, but leave our pans in here. Oh, please don't look at my dirty oven. See, they've expanded and they're not dark brown yet because look how beautiful. I just love that. I do not get tired of that. Anyway, so that's how they spring up. I'm going to just put that back in. And now I'm going to change my bake setting. I'm going to do timer for 20 minutes and my bake at 460. And let that go again.